Hey, what's up guys? YouTube here, back with another video. Before I start, I just want to say that regarding the ban this videos of late, I don't actually work for Konami, so I obviously don't know what's going to happen. I was just trying to offer my opinions on what I thought would be banned, limited, semi-limited, etc. And I got a few negative comments, and to those people I say that if you're going to offer negative comments, then, you feel free to do so, but I'm more than likely not going to reply to them, unless they offer constructive advice, or if they say, I disagree with this choice because blah 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 blah, the format is in such and such a way. However, if someone says flat out that your choice is shit and doesn't say anything else, then what am I to say to that, So in future, I'm just not going to respond to those comments at all. And I always like to generate a discussion about these things, and I'm never kind of saying authoritatively that I'm flat out right. Like I'm not the kind of person that thinks I'm right all the time, because I'm just not. I just try and estimate based on my experience in the game, playing for 10 years or so, what Konami tend to do. And sometimes I get it right, sometimes I get it wrong. So that's just the way it is. And I'm just going to be diplomatic about it and say that, you have a right to post comments about whatever the hell you want. But obviously, I always like to put, friendly discussions before, bitch fests, pretty much. But I'm going to leave it there anyway and get straight into the video. So in this series, I'm basically going to be talking about cards from Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy that I believe to be, good. And in this particular edition, we're going to be talking about the water support for either Mermails or for the new up-and-coming Suppressor Dragons, one of which is water, and he has the little level 4 guy to help bring him out from the deck, which is stupid because the Atlanteans get their effects, blah blah blah, but I'm going to be going over them in a separate video. But anyway, let's get into the list. Alright, so first of all, we're going to be talking about Ocean Ablaze, and it's actually a trap card that I didn't actually notice until you looked right down the bottom of the list. So I'm going to be talking about it for the water aspect, but of course it does apply to fire as well. But if you control a face of level 7 or higher water or fire monster, apply one of these effects. So for water, it is specifically special summon as many water monsters from your graveyard that were sent there this turn to activate a monster's effect as possible, then destroy one monster you control. So the first thing you think of obviously will be Megalo or Abyss Lead. So if you discard monsters for the summon of Megalo, it is treated as an ignition effect rather than a summoning condition. It could be Atlantean Dragoons and a Marksman. More specifically, what makes this card good is that you don't need to bring the same monsters back that you sent to activate the effect in the first place, which means that you will more than likely try and target an Abyss Lind because you'll have to destroy a monster you control afterwards, which is one of the downsides of the card. But of course, if you destroy an Abyss Lind, you'll get to bring out probably a Megalo from the graveyard that was sent there earlier in the game, or perhaps another level 7 from the deck with Abyss Lind. So you'll be able to overlay into a rank 7. Of course, the card is a little bit situational in that if you draw it early game and you don't really have many monsters in the graveyard, you might have no choice but to special summon the monsters you originally discarded, which you might necessarily want to do. You might not necessarily want to do, rather. But it can be pretty good because usually people don't want to discard certain water monsters for the summon of Megalo, but now they can pretty much discard whatever they want if they know that they have this card face down, and they can just bring those monsters back. So it's a nice tech card. I probably wouldn't run more than one copy, but we'll just have to see how people manage with it once it appears on Dueling Network and other places like this, and test it out in various decks. One final thing that I just realized about the card is that if you in fact choose to bring out a Mermail Abyss Pike with the original effect before the monster is destroyed, then Mermail Abyss Pike will miss timing since a monster needs to be destroyed after the card resolves and special summons monsters. However, if you choose to bring out a Mermail Abyss Lind and it gets destroyed with its effect, you can then safely bring out the Mermail Abyss Pike and activate its effect. Okay, so next of all we have Torrential Rebirth, and arguably this is my favourite of the three cards simply because it is a counter to Torrential Tribute. If you're playing Mermails and you're swarming the field, you've used Moon Glacier, the Elemental Lord's effect, and you have a Megalo in the field, and an Abyss Pike, and whatever the hell else you have in the field, and you're afraid of Torrential Tribute, and your opponent activates it, they still have one back row, you don't know what it is, and yes, it happens to be Torrential Tribute. What the hell do you do? Most of those decks don't run Starlight Road, but if it is specific to a water archetype, you're going to run this card. So basically what it does is when a water monster or monsters are destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon those monsters back to the field, and your opponent takes 500 damage for each monster special summoned this way. Not too shabby. I mean, you can, laugh about burn damage all you want, but the fact is that if you summon 3 monsters back, it is 1500 damage. It is the equivalent of attacking directly with an Abyss Lind or something. But its potential is basically that when you're pushing for an OTK, and you're afraid of Torrential Tribute, not only can you bring the monsters back that were destroyed, apart from those with special conditions such as Moon Glacier, but your opponent takes damage, which will actually make it easier for you to OTK them. So that is why I think this card is particularly useful. Again, like the other cards, I would never really run more than one copy of it in my deck, but it is definitely worth a shot. And if you're kind of sick of running Torrential Tribute in your own deck, and it does kind of hurt your deck, then just counter when your opponent uses their own Torrential Tributes. So definitely worth a look. And finally, we have Treasured Sword of 7 stars. This is going to be a secret rare simply because it is a draw card. You draw 2 cards and you banish a level 7 monster from either your hand or your side of the field. Pretty simple. So you can use it on the Suppressor Dragons, you can use it on your Mermails, Abyss Teus, Abyss Lead, and Abyss Megalo. And a bunch of other decks which run level 7 monsters. You know, I can think of a few. Like, obviously, if Dark Arm Dragon is dead, you don't have an Allure of Darkness, you can just use this card instead. So it's a very versatile card. You know, I can definitely see it being ran in a lot of decks. And there's not really much else to say about the card other than that it's going to be pretty expensive, I would say. It's probably going to be a secret rare. And I would try and get your hands on them as soon as you can when the set comes out. Obviously, it isn't for a while, because Cosmo Blazer has pretty much just been released. But I always like to look into the future and kind of look at the prices of things and what they're actually going to be like. Rarities obviously don't really tell you much in Konami, but the quality of a card certainly does. In the OCG I'm referring to. But what do you think of the 3 cards? I would have to say that Torrential Rebirth is my favourite, simply because of its explosive power, and you're pretty much immune to Torrential Tribute. Obviously, it's a -1 because you're using up the Torrential Rebirth to bring the monsters back, but you're not really going to care if you can OTK your opponent anyway. But anyway, guys, that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to comment, rate, and subscribe. As always, all subscriptions are very much appreciated, as I've always said. And I'll be sure to talk about more Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy cards very, very soon. This is kind of what's on my mind right now, because not a lot's happening in the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! We have a couple of YCSs coming up, but of course, they're this weekend, and I think the next weekend, or maybe the weekend after. And then we'll really find out what Cosmo Blazer has actually done for the kind of competitive players, and whether it actually makes them, you know, top in YCSs and things. We've seen regionals, we've seen Fire Fist decks top regionals, we've seen Gladbeast top regionals because of their use of Fire Formation Tenkies and Tensus, which is kind of cool. But we haven't seen really much else. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave the video there. I will talk to you guys later. Peace out.